I want to talk about what defiles a person according to scriptures in the Bible. One of the things that all my videos have in common is that I go to the scriptures to say whatever it is. So it's not coming from a place of feelings, the way that seems right to a man. Um, yeah, so it's not like, oh, this makes sense. Let me just, no, it's scriptures from the Bible. So that's what we're going to follow. So today's topic that God pressed on my heart this morning was, defilement and the different types of ways. Not only can you overcome it, but the different types of way that it comes in. So let's go to the scriptures and see what God has to say about that. So in a particular part of the Bible, the disciples are sitting down with Jesus Christ and they're about to share a meal. Now, back then in the Bible days, there were a lot about ceremonial things, traditional things that they did before or after they did any particular task. So, for example, and this is not wrong to do. So let me just specify it. This is a good thing to do. However, Jesus Christ took advantage of the opportunity to share wisdom. So they're about to share a meal in this segment of the Bible, and the disciples wanted to wash their hands before eating, which is obviously a good thing. And so Jesus Christ, the reason why they wanted to do that was because of defilement purposes. So back then, stuff that could defile you was like eating an unclean animal, as an example, like a pig or shellfish. And there was a list like eating a bat, things that you wouldn't care to eat in the first place, like snails and stuff like that. So Jesus Christ came to fulfill all those laws, right? So Jesus Christ was teaching him a new way to go about life, and he was saying, listen, he started talking about, in this particular, before I jump to the next thing I wanted to say, in this part of the Bible, Jesus started talking about, he's like, listen, it's a good thing to wash your hands before you eat, but don't do it for the reasons of, oh, you'll be defiled before God if you don't. And then he shared with them his points on what that defilement, how it comes about, and how it produces defilement. Jesus described it as something that comes from your heart, something that comes from within outwardly. So like rage and anger and bitterness and resentment and unforgiveness, poisonous thoughts and stuff like that. All that is defilement. It's inside already, and it's defiling you to the point where it's coming outwardly. He said, but eating with unclean hands, in terms of like you just worked and you labored, and the defilement in that purpose is more so with germs and stuff like that. But the way that they were describing it is defilement in a spiritual sense. And Jesus is like, don't worry about that. That's not going to defile you in a spiritual point of view. And so Jesus Christ started talking about, what matters to God and what's important and where things derive from and what God is really paying attention to from now on. Because Jesus Christ was talking about, like, if you hate your brother, you committed murder already with him. You already committed murder just by hating him. The standard was being lifted, but at the same time, God was taking away the law. But he was saying, live in this way from now on. Don't hate and don't lust. He said, if you see and this goes for the girls as well, but I'm gonna put it the way Jesus put it. He said, if you lust after, how did he put it? He said, if you lust with your eyes, you already committed adultery with that person in your heart. And so that's a very common thread in today's generation and society for us to take as a common use to look upon the opposite sex with attraction and wanting to just the attraction is knitted to something more of a desire to be with that person. And that is something that God says, that's committing the act with them already in your heart, in terms of the standard of what Jesus Christ was saying, of the things that defile you from within. You're already thinking in your heart, man, I wish. And so a lot of men deal with this. I don't know the females in terms of to what degree, but I do understand that um, the mentality of a male, usually when a female is dressed promiscuous, uh, it's like a moth to a flame. It catches the man's eye every single time. It's really you have to live in the spirit in order to not fall for that temptation. You have to be in the spirit, because the spirit wars against the flesh and the flesh wars against the spirit. So the flesh will always say look, and the spirit will always say don't look. And that's the difference there. And so what defiles you are your thoughts, your hidden motives on the inside of how you go about life. And yesterday my wife was asking me, because we watched a movie, and she was asking me, because the movie was based on PTSD, and the man was dealing with PTSD. And then I told my wife, she was on the topic, and I kind of told her, like, yeah, I dealt with PTSD myself. I understand that life. I understand what it's like to be traumatized and all that. And I told her about hell and the things I saw in hell and stuff like that. And she knows my testimony, but yeah, we landed on that subject, talking about that subject, and then from that place I got attacked a lot in my dreams. Like, I dreamt very demonically last night and all that. And I woke up this morning. I started to cleanse myself and purify myself and just get back to a place of being in the spirit, because it's where I have my peace. It's where I collect all my treasure. It's where the power is at. It's where success and victory and effectiveness is at. As long as I'm connected to Jesus Christ, the source, I know that my life is going to be fruitful, and it's going to be a life worth living. I was literally just watching a documentary this morning. It wasn't a documentary. It was a short little clip of Conor McGregor. And Conor McGregor, very rich guy. He's an MMA fighter. But he's very wealthy. He's very rich. Off of the Mayweather fight alone, he made over $200 million. And he was asked, like, what's the purpose of life to you? What's meaningful to you? Where's the peak of life to you? The reporter was asking, and his answer was so far from what you think it was. He wasn't expressing his joy for yachts or Lamborghinis or mansions, which he has all three. He literally said peace. He's like, man, I just want peace. I literally just want peace for myself. I want peace on the inside. And then he talked about how he wants, to be with the people that he desires to be around, etc. But nothing to do with money, fame, nothing to do with these things that other people exalt as, meaningful or important. So I wanted to touch on that, because so many people are after these things. Some people sell their soul, and they want to make it meaningful. And the only way it's meaningful is when they show it off to other people. Like, look at me, I'm flexing. I have millions of dollars at my feet. You see it on TikTok, 6ix9ine is making videos on a daily basis about his cars, his jewelry, and his money. It's like he wants it to matter. He wants it to mean something more than what it does, because that's how he gets off. Like, yeah, I'm important. Look at what you take away the camera from showing off everything, right? Because we are the people that give it meaning. When we start to emphasize, like, oh man, you know, you got all that money, that's what makes him feel like it's meaningful. But without that, he's looking at all that and like, I wish it meant more. It's because it doesn't produce life. Only Jesus does that. So Jesus Christ is the answer, man. You know, Conor McGregor wants peace. Jesus is the Prince of Peace, period. And so if you have peace and you have victory and success and light, then in my book, you're rich, you're wealthy, you're important.